Hi, I'm Bones. This is Bones Alit, setting your bones on fire one Bible devotional at a time. Today I have a story called Sticky the Bush. Sticky was a bush who loved to travel at night. He went to the beach to see the stars. Sticky lived in a forest where he had lots of friends. The trouble was that many of Sticky's tree friends were much taller than he was. How could Sticky see the stars through the branches of his forest friends? It usually took him 4 hours to get to the beach from his home. He started going toward the beach as soon as the night was dark enough so that no one would see him. All along the way, Sticky bumped his roots on rocks sticking up, which hurt him. His roots were torn up and water leaked out before it could get to his leaves. One day, a famous gardener named Bog rode his bicycle right past Sticky, resting in his usual spot in the forest. Bog hopped off his bicycle to get a closer look. Sticky had seashells, twigs, dirt, and algae all tangled up in his roots and branches. "What is all this?" Bog asked no one in particular. Bog was excited to show how beautiful Sticky could be. So Bog went back to his garden and got his shovel to dig Sticky up. Bog replanted Sticky in Bog's famous garden. When Sticky woke up that first night in the garden, he was shocked. There was a big fence and no way for Sticky to get to the beach. All the other plants in the garden looked perfect, nothing like tired, bare, ragged Sticky. Sticky had never been trimmed. Sticky was missing leaves, and he was thirsty. All of that running around really left Sticky a mess. Before long, Sticky remembered to look up. Now there were no trees blocking his view of the stars. Sticky could not leave, but he had everything he needed right where he was. Sticky could see the stars and have healthy roots at the same time. A bush could grow big and fat living a life like this. In the garden, Sticky was next to Ramon, who was trimmed to look like a silly dog, and Cordelia, who had been trimmed to look like a panda. They each had lush green leaves and strong roots. At first, Cordelia and Ramon laughed at the stuff stuck to Sticky, but as time went on, they all became friends. Sticky told Cordy and Ramon about the stars he'd seen, and they told Sticky about Bog. With regular trims, Sticky was freed of all his entanglements. Bog started feeding and watering Sticky. Sticky grew leaves that were just as lush and green as the leaves of Cordelia and Ramon, and roots that were just as strong. Sticky grew tall. One day, Bog decided to trim Sticky into the shape of Bog himself. Sticky had become as beautiful to everyone else as Bog had always known he was. I love this story about Sticky. I think it's so funny to think about how we can choose things for ourselves that we think are great, and sometimes they are great. Viewing the stars is really a beautiful thing to do, but if we go to God and do it His way, He generally gives us good things that we couldn't even really achieve ourselves anyways. It all goes back to John 15, 1 through 5. "I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, and you are the branches. If you remain in me, and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing." I think we're not much like plants, but some of the things that God cuts out of us are our attitudes towards what happens to us. So we go through life and we think about what's good for us and what's bad for us and what we want for ourselves. And God is saying, I know what you want more than you know what you want. And I've already got a plan laid out so that you can find it. And so it's interesting that we sit there and we sort of get grumpy because something didn't go our way, or we get excited because we found a way to get what we want for ourselves, And instead, we have to go to God and have that relationship with Him so that He can make things happen that will last. The things that we decide to give ourselves will fade away. And so it's better to find God's way of doing it, and it's also more fulfilling. It's more surprising and more beautiful because He knows how to make it beautiful. He's the creator, and so we think that we should be a good person, and so we do good things just for the sake of being a good person, and we forget that that's not what God's looking for. God's looking to fulfill us through growing in our understanding of what He wants to do in our lives. His love is eternal. That means that it lasts forever. It doesn't change or get weaker. It just gets better and better the more we come into learning about it. And so when we try to do the good things without learning about God, we miss out on the most important part. So the question remains, what can we do to find what God wants for us? How do we know how to look into His plan? Obviously, the first thing is prayer. We have to ask. We have to earnestly go to God and say, I don't understand this thing I read in the Bible. What does it mean, and how can I make it happen? And then another thing that we need to do is to just wait. There's a part of life that happens when things are quiet, and we start to just sort of get everything into focus and see what God wants for us. I hope you enjoyed the story of Sticky as much as I did.